Again, to welcome you to Medstone African Natives. Here we are on Business Studies Grade 10, Term 1 Notes, Chapter 3. We are on Chapter 3. So here we are going to talk about the market environment. We are going to talk about the market environment. And let's quickly go through the meaning of the market environment. Meaning of the market environment. So as it says, challenges and influences outside the business. Challenges and influences outside the business. Meaning to say these are factors the business cannot control. These are factors. These are factors the business cannot control. The business cannot control. So, for example, we are talking about new competitors entering the market. The business cannot control that. That is that. Business have little or no control over the environment. Businesses have little or no control over the environment. So the business cannot change what happens in the external environment. The business cannot change what happens. What happens in the external environment. Business cannot change what happens in the external environment. In the external environment. That is that. So business cannot change what happens in the external environment. For example, a rise in fuel prices affects transport cost. So that is that. Also, all elements that determine the reasons for the existence of a business. So meaning to say, we are trying to say that the environment determines if the business has customers, suppliers, as well as support. So we are saying the environment determines if a business has customers, suppliers, and support. For example, a business exists because customers need its products. That's what it means. That's what it means when you say all elements determine the reasons for the existence of the business. So it further on say it includes all forces, stakeholders that have a direct effect on the functioning of the business. Meaning to say people or groups outside the business influence how it operates. So it means people or groups outside the business influence how it operates. Influence how it operates. For example, suppliers influence whether the goods are delivered on time. So that is that. So these are the meanings of the market environment. That is that. So let us move on to the components now. Components, features, elements of the market environment. So we are first going to talk about what? Suppliers. So we know very well that suppliers provide raw materials, transport, and services. So that is suppliers that we're talking about. Because we have suppliers, we have market, we have competitors, we have intermediaries, we have civil society. So suppliers are individuals, agents who provide raw materials, transport, other services to the business. So meaning to say suppliers give business the inputs needed for production. It means that suppliers give business, the inputs, the inputs needed for production. Inputs needed for production. So that is that. For example, a bakery buys flour from a supplier. So that is that. The business needs inputs from suppliers to produce goods and services, like we have said. So without suppliers, the business cannot operate. Without suppliers, the business cannot operate. For example, a car factory needs steel from supplier. Hope we are together on that. Suppliers play an important role in the success or failure of the business. If consumers will purchase the product or service from another business, if a supplier is unable to supply a particular product or service. So that is that if suppliers fail, customers may turn to competitors. That's what it means. If suppliers fail, customers. If suppliers fail, customers may turn to competitors. Turn to competitors. May turn to competitors. Example, if a soft drink company can get sugar, customers buy another brand. That is that. So now let us move on. Let us move on that business usually choose suppliers that provide the best quality of goods, correct quantity, and deliver goods at agreed upon times at the best price. So we are saying business choose suppliers with best quality and quantity and time and price. So it means good suppliers help business operate smoothly. Good suppliers, good suppliers help business operate smoothly. Help business operate smoothly. Help business operate smoothly. So that is that. For example, a store chooses a supplier who delivers fresh food daily. So that is that. Also, it says producers and manufacturers are some examples of suppliers as they supply raw materials. So it means that they create the basic goods used for production. It means they create basic goods used for production. used for production. So, for example, a lumber mill supplies wood to furniture makers. So, lumber mill supplies wood to furniture makers. So that is what it says. Producers and manufacturers are examples of suppliers as they supply raw materials. So now let us move on to market, to the market or customers or customers, like I said. So it says the market refers to all people who have money to buy goods and services. But here are people who have money to buy goods and services. So the market is made up of people who can afford to buy. So the market is made up of people who can afford to buy, who can afford to buy. That is the market. So you can talk of, for example, buyers of smartphones. They can afford to buy smartphones, to buy smartphones. So that is that. These people are known as consumers or customers. These are people known as consumers or customers. So they are end users of product. They are end users. They are end users of the product. They are end users of the product. For example, students buying stationery. So that is that. Customers are buyers of products and services offered by the business. So it means they are the source of business income. They are the source of business income. They are the source of business income. For example, customer buying fast food from KFC. So that is that. Their spending decision is influenced by cultural, social, personal, and psychological factors. So many factors shape buying behavior. Many factors shape buying behavior. Shape buying behavior. So that is that. So as you have said, for example, a person buys traditional clothes because of cultural beliefs. So, because of cultural beliefs, as you have said, spending decision is influenced by cultural, social, personal, as well as psychological factors. So, you find that there are people who buy traditional clothes because of their cultural beliefs who we are together. Business should understand their customers' needs and wants in order to build good relationship with them. So this helps them offer products customers like. This helps them to offer products customers like a shop sells warm clothes in winter. So that they understand their customers' needs and wants. That is why they say it's going to be very helpful for business offering the product the customers want. The more customers the business have, the more money they have flowing through the business. So more customers is equal to more money for the business. So it means increased sales lead to higher profits. Increased sales little higher profits. So that is that. So you know very well that a business earns more during festive seasons. So it means that is when we have more sales, which are going to lead up to higher profits. The government is also customer as it buys goods and services from business through contracts and tenders. So here we know that government buys goods through tenders. So that is that. So now let us move on to competitors now. Let us move on to competitors. As it says, competitors are all businesses that provide similar products or services for more or less the same target market. Mean to say, competitors sell the same or similar goods. Competitors, competitors sell the same or similar goods. Similar goods. For example, Coca-Cola and Pepsi. You see, they are selling the same goods. Very similar. Business also compete with other business for skilled employees or raw materials, equipment, finance, and etc. So it means business need the same resources. It means business need the same resources. Business need the same resources. As you have said, they compete for employees, raw materials, equipment, finances. Those are the resources. So that is why we're saying business need the same resources. For example, two companies want to hire the same skilled technician. So those are the same resources that they're looking for. Same skilled technician. Competition also comes from business that produce possible substitute goods. So this means that different products can satisfy the same need. This is where we're talking about the substitute goods. We know substitute goods are different, but satisfying the same need. That is where we're saying different products can satisfy what? The same need. For example, a tea competing with coffee. So it means the coffee can substitute a tea because they are satisfying the same need. Competition is influenced by the following Porter's five forces model. So here we are talking about five factors that determine how competitive an industry is. So these are our five uh, forces model. This is our Porter's five forces model, where we are saying these these factors determine how competitive an industry is. How competitive industry is. An industry is. For example, we can talk of new business entering the cell phone industry. That is when you're talking about a competitive or power, competitive rivalry or power of competitors. So that is that. So now moving on now, we know we have a threat of obstacle. That is when we're talking about the threat of new entrants to the market, power of suppliers, power of buyers or consumers, as well as threats of substitute products and competitive rivalry or power of competitors. So now it says competition is beneficial to customers because it keeps price down. competition keeps price down. So it means that business lower prices to attract customers. Businesses lower prices to attract customers. To attract customers. Shop reduce price during sales so that they can attract customers. Competition also promotes innovation and encourages business to be more productive. So business improve product to stay ahead. So it means business improve products to stay ahead. Business improve products to stay ahead. To stay ahead. So that is that. For example, smartphones companies adding new features so that they can stay ahead. That's that. So now we come to intermediaries. We come to intermediaries or agents. Intermediaries or agents. It says the intermediaries of a business are all those businesses that play a role in distributing, promoting the goods and services to customers. So meaning to say they move products from producer to customers. They move products from producers to customers. So, for example, wholesalers storing goods for resales. So that is that they help distribute and promote goods. They bridge the gap between manufacturer and consumer. So it means that they deliver products closer to buyers. It means they deliver products close to buyers. They deliver products close to buyers. For example, retailers selling products from factories. They serve as a link between the microenvironment and market environment. So it means they connect the internal business with customers. They connect. It means they connect the internal business with customers. They connect internal business with customers. For example, delivering companies linking business to buyers. Also, intermediaries make it easier for the consumers to access product by selling product closer to consumers' location. So they locate products near customers. They locate products near customers. Like that. So, for example, delivery companies linking business to buyers. Intermediaries often affect the final price of goods and services as they place a markup on the product before they sell it to customers. Before they sell it to customers. So affect final price by adding the markup. So it means that they increase the price to earn profit. They increase the price to earn profit. They increase the price to earn a profit. For example, a shop buying chips for 5 rand and selling them for 7 rand. That is that. Many intermediaries or agents receive commission on sale of products. So many intermediaries and or agents get what? A commission on the sale of products. So many get what? Commission. They earn money based on sales. They earn money based on sales. For example, insurance agent earn commission per policy sold. Hope it makes sense. Some of examples of intermediaries are Some of the examples of intermediaries are retailers, agents, and wholesalers, financial institutions, and insurance brokers. So this help distribute or finance products. This helps distribute, or finance products or finance products. For example, a bank financing car purchases. So that is that. So now let us move on to civil society. Civil society or other organization. Civil society or other organization. As it says, a civil society are those organizations that deal with social problems. So they work to improve community welfare, because these are organizations that deal with social issues. So it means they work to improve community welfare. So they improve community welfare. They improve community welfare. They improve community welfare. So they work to improve what? Community welfare. So that is that. So we can even talk about helping fight poverty. So that is that. So, like I've said, the example that I gave is that a national government, non, you're talking about non-government, you're talking about non-government organizations helping fight poverty. So by so doing, they improve community welfare. That is that. These organizations include non-government organization, community-based organization, unions, regulations, strategic alliance, and etc. So a community-based organization, which is CBO, could affect the operation of a business through lobbying. So we have saying CBO can affect business through lobbying. So they can pressure for change. They can pressure for change. They can pressure for change. So that is that. For example, a community group demanding cleaner factory practices. So that is that. They can pressure for change. That is why we are saying a community-based organization affect the operation of business through lobbying. So now let us move on to non-government organization. That. So non-government organizations are non-profit organizations that do not operate under the control of the government. They do not operate under the control of government. So they aim to help society. They aim to help society. They aim to help society, not make profit. Not make profit. So, for example, gift of the givers, that is that. They are established to fulfill important needs in the community by addressing some socio-economic issues. So they address socio-economic issues. They solve community problems. They solve community problems. They solve community problems. Solve community problems. Example, a national government organization providing food relief. So that is that. National government organizations, high ethical and moral standards. So they follow strict moral rules. They follow strict moral rules. So that is that. So that is, for example, transparent use of donations. Now we come to community-based organizations, CBOs. CBOs. So it says CBOs have established to assist the community in job creation, socio-economic development, and becoming self-sufficient. So they uplift local communities because they help with job creation and development. So, meaning they uplift local communities. They uplift local communities. For example, a sewing cooperative training unemployed women. So they are trained to become sewers. So that's why that is the upliftment of local communities so that they can be able to access jobs. They are local organizations that operate in the community. So they operate locally. So they work within neighborhoods. They work within the neighborhoods. For example, a local youth center. They focus on socio-economic such as HIV and AIDS, unemployment, crime, illiteracy, substance abuse. So it means they tackle community challenges. They tackle community challenges. That is that. For example, a center for ovary HIV testing, you see, that is that. CBO, which is community-based organizations, rely on donations from business and private persons for funding. So they rely on donations. So they depend on funding. They depend on funding. They depend on funding. For example, business donating food to shelters. So that is that. Now we come to unions. Now we come to unions. They're saying the trade unions movement in South Africa is the largest union on the continent, a large movement in South Africa. So many workers belongs to unions. many workers belongs to unions. So that shows in the trade union movement in South Africa is the largest union on the continent. We have COSATU and the other ones. They are concerned about well-being of their members in the work environment. So they improve workers' well-being by protecting workers' rights. So they protect workers' rights. For example, ensuring safe working conditions. So this one is what we are talking about. They deal with issues such as working conditions and fair pay. So they deal with pay, working hours, and fair treatment. That's what it means. The trade union is not part of the business but influences it in a direct way. Example, negotiations for changes to conditions of service such as hours of work, wages can affect the price of products and profitability. So it affects the business directly. So negotiations affect cost and operations. For example, wage increases affecting the product prices. So that is that. Now we come to regulators. We come to regulators. So regulators are organizations that set rules and requirements for the operation of business in that industry. So they ensure fairness and safety. They ensure fairness and safety. They ensure fairness and safety. That is that, like we are saying, they set rules for business operations. The government is known as the regulator as it uses laws to control business practices. So we're saying government uses laws to regulate, meaning laws guide how business behave. It means that laws guide how business behave. How business behave. So that is that. For example, you can talk about labor laws protecting workers. Regulators remove any bad business practice from the market. So they remove harmful practices. They stop business from acting unfairly. They stop business from acting unfairly. That is that. For example, banning false advertising. That is removing that bad business practice because trying to lie on your advertisements it's not allowed. So that's being operating unfairly. Regulators draw up rules that impact directly on what business may and may not do. That is that. So some of the examples of regulators in South Africa are there. We talk of a National Energy Regulator of South Africa, which regulates electricity, piped gas, petroleum, and pipeline industries, and etc. We talk of National Grid Regulator, which regulates the supply of loans created by credit providers such as banks and retailers such as clothing and furniture. Independent Authority of South Africa, that is ICASA, which regulates South African communities, broadcasting and postal service sectors. Advertising Standards Authority, SA, regulates advertising in a public interest. So this one, all these, they regulate various industries. All this regulate various industries. Industries. So that is that. We know that NCR, like they're talking about NCR, which is National Credit Regulator, they control loans. That is that. So let us move on. Now we come to strategic alliance. Strategic alliance. It says the concept of alliance refers to two or more businesses that work together in a joint venture. Two or more business working together. So they join to share skills and crew. They join to share skills and crew. Can talk of a clothing brand partnering with a designer. You see, they're going to share the skills and they're going to expand their business. Their business is going to grow. Business form strategic alliances to obtain expertise from one another, either for survival or to become competitive in the market. So this one, it is formed to gain expertise or survive. Meaning to say, alliances help business become stronger. For example, a small bakery partnering with a big distributor. Hope we are together. Reasons why NOS and CBOs form part of market environment. So it says they employ workers and supply consumer goods and services, meaning to say they operate like other organization. It's because they operate like other organization. They fulfill important needs of the community. They fulfill community needs, meaning to say they solve social problems. For example, providing education programs. That is that. That is how they fulfill community needs. They are concerned with welfare of others. Concerned with welfare of others, it means their aim is to help people. Hope we are together. Let us move on. Now we come to the meaning of opportunities, threats in the business context. So there is a lot of competition between business as mentioned above. We are saying there is what? A lot of competition between businesses as mentioned above. Also, management sees competition as an opportunity and threat. So that is that. Now let's come to opportunity. So here we're trying to talk about opportunity and threats. Meaning to say we are saying competition is both an opportunity as well as threat. That's what we are trying to say. So it can help or harm the business. That is that. It can help or harm the business. So now let us come to opportunity. Opportunity takes place when consumers are made aware of product if it is marketed by different businesses. So that is when consumers become aware of the product. So it means more exposure brings more sales. That's what it means. Opportunities will always be available when consumers need to satisfy their needs. Meaning to say, we are saying opportunity exists when needs must be satisfied. New needs create business chances. That is that. Now we come to threats. A threat exists if a business is unable to produce or perform a desired because of reasons outside the business, such as competition, legislation, global economic trends. So here we are talking about outside issues can reduce success. Outside issues can reduce success. That's what it means. So now we come to the examples of opportunities and threats. Examples of opportunities and threats. We are first going to start by opportunities. As it says, expansion of product lines to serve a broader range of customers. Meaning, when you're talking about expansion of product lines, we are trying to say you add new products that can attract more customers. For example, a bakery adding cupcakes. So you see, that is that. You are trying to expand your product lines. So in a bakery, you are adding the cupcakes. That is that. Entering into new markets. Entering into new markets. Selling in the new areas increases sales. Now you are opening new branches. That is that. For example, a clothing shop opening a branch in another town. That's what it means. Decline in interest rates. Decline in interest rates, meaning to say borrowing becomes cheaper for business. When the interest rates are declining, they are low. Even borrowing becomes cheaper for business. You can now take a loan to buy new equipments. New law which increases consumer minimum wages and salaries. We're talking about new law. New law which increases consumer minimum wage and salaries. So increase in investors. More funds help business to grow. That is an opportunity. For example, an investor gives money to expand a restaurant. Increase in investor in the business. So increase in investor in a business. That is that. Increase in production due to increase in demand. Here we are talking about what? Increase in demand. Higher demand increases production and sales. Now let's come to the threats. New competitors entering the market with lower prices. So that is a threat. Customers, now it means they may switch to cheaper options because they enter market with lower prices. So it is easy for customers now to switch to your rivals with cheaper prices. New legislation which could limit business transactions. So here we're talking about new laws raising wages now. So cost increase for business. So that is that. Changing buyer needs and taste. So changing buyers needs and taste. Slower market growth. So it means fewer customers enter the market. Increase in interest rates. Increase in interest rates. So it means that borrowing becomes expensive if now there is increase in interest rates. Less investment in the business, so fewer funds limit growth. So that is that. So this is the end of our presentation for chapter 3. So we are going to do chapter 4 in our next presentation. Thank you very much for your time. Please share with others.